Gaming and BS. Episode 245, coming to you June 2nd, 2019. Welcome to Gaming and BS, tabletop RPG podcast. I'm Sean.
And I'm Brett. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you all aboard. How you doing, Sean?
Oh my goodness, am I doing fantastic?
Are you?
I am.
So a little off gaming banter here. Sean, how did your, that loaded question, how did your fundraiser for the leukemia stuff go, Sean?
It went very well, is the short answer. For some of you that have given specifically to me for that event, thank you so much. Some of you I mentioned on the air, some of them I've personally reached out and thanked. So June 1st, which would be yesterday of this recording, we had the final gala, the end wrap-up, which involves a pseudo-formal banquet and silent auction. And I mean, you know, Brad, I got to say, at one of the silent auctions, so they have the silent auction items that people have kind of donated, and they put the estimated retail value, and you could kind of do it electronically and sign up and say, okay, I'm going to put in a bid, right? And then at the end of the night, they actually do some really big ticket items, like trips to islands and shit like that.
Oh, wow.
They had trips to like Florida. There was an island off Florida. I don't know, few different places. And one was a log cabin in like somewhere up north in Wisconsin. I can't remember. Mauston maybe?
Mauston's not that far north, but yeah, okay.
You know, but it's like this log cabin home that was like featured on Log Cabin Homes.
Okay. This isn't like in a Little House on Prairie. This is like, like very pitched big, like, you know, a 2-3 story window. You're talking $1 million
for a wall.
House. Okay.
Yeah. That would sleep like 13 to 18 people.
Good Lord.
And, you know, the price was like, you know, $2,000, but it was like a 3-night stay there.
God, that'd be a good gaming trip, man.
I know. And as I was sitting there, I'm like, oh, I should totally bid on this and then try to wrangle 15 people to go to this thing.
Mini-con.
For a weekend.
Yeah.
And say, hey, I paid for it. It's going to cost $100 total to stay there 3 nights, you know, or whatever. But I didn't have time to have it all sink in. Like, I didn't realize, like, oh my God, I have to. Like,
the potential, it takes time for it all to, like, ratchet through. Yeah,
I have to decide on whether I want to do this, like, right now. Like, there's no, you know, can I get the people? Can I not get the people? Who would I invite? Would they go? So I just, it didn't happen. But regardless, we raised a shit ton of money for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I was personally recognized as the 2019 Madison Team Member of the Year.
Oh, awesome, man. Congrats.
Thank you.
Play the claps. Come on, play the claps. Play the claps. Right. Do it. There you go. Good job.
And it was all to everybody that has helped me spread the word, and threw in a few shekels along the way. It was just a very unbelievable experience. And I didn't even know. I was talking to my wife, who happened to go along, and we were talking, and literally they're like, Sean Kelly. And I'm like, I look around not knowing, I wasn't paying attention to what they were talking about, because they're recognizing people throughout the night and all this. And I'm like, oh shit. So I like look around, walk up on stage, grab this, and then go back to my table. But it was just surreal because I didn't expect it and didn't know about it or anything. And, but it was good. It was a good event. Very successful. We raised like $320,000, from just this campaign. So for those of you not in the know, it's a man and woman of the year. And what happens is there's 11 candidates that kind of volunteer or get volunteered, and then they get nominated, and they had a team. and they ask for people to join their team, and they get their team to rally and make some money, and whoever makes the most becomes the man and the woman of the year for the local chapter. And I think it happens throughout the nation. Our team did not win that, but there were 3 teams that raised over like $50,000 a piece. So I heard it was really close, and that's it. You just got to get that kind of recognition for doing that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think the closest campaign that was in the past, or the record was like 198 or 210. So we blew it out by about $100,000.
That's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, so we had some pretty obviously good, tenacious individuals leading some of those teams, and obviously at the gala you invite people to come to your table, and then they bid on those big ticket items in the silent auction, and those proceeds go to the team members' team, right?
Yeah,
right. So if I would have bid $2,000 on a thing, it would go towards my team's kind of pot. So
gotcha.
It was very good, very rewarding. My sister was there; she's had leukemia as a kid, and so she was there to kind of join me, and her my brother-in-law, her husband was there too. But yes, thank you for everybody that supported me. I really appreciate it. It was just a great experience. So
that's awesome.
Thanks.
Man. That's awesome.
Thanks, Brett.
No problem. Let's see. I think we could go on to gaming crap now, man. Let's talk about gaming crap.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like some people are like, man, I listen to this goddamn show, but they sometimes
they talking about
the fucking wrong shit, man.
Well, that one's important, man. That one's very important. So anyway, evercon.org, gameholecon.com. Evercon, of course, is in January coming up. Lock your calendars in, go out there, evercon.org, find out when it is, lock yourself in, get yourself a hotel room if you need it, and submit your events, because there are some event submissions open. Speaking of course, gameholecon.com. You go there Halloween weekend, and join Sean and I and a host of other BSers and other really cool people. They're going to be running games, playing games, and hanging out and having a goddamn good time. So hope to see you there. As always, Sean and I would love it if you were a listener. You're like, hey, I want to run a game. I'd love to run it under the Gaming and BS banner. That's great. If you are like, well, I don't know if anybody would be interested in it, or, geez, how do I, I'm kind of new to that's fine. Tell Sean and I what you're up to. Send us an email. Send us the note. Say, hey, I want to run this game during that con. Even if you don't know what time it's slotted for yet or whatever, let us know. We'll be happy to pimp your game for you if we can. So throw that out there too.
Do it!
Exactly.
Just do it!
Damn straight. Let's see here. Oh, the Avalon Kickstarter should do a quick update there. If you back that at any level that grants you a PDF, you should have gotten links to download your PDF by now. If not, contact Encoded via the Kickstarter. Let's see. I should
get some props out there, Brett.
I did. I got some very nice things. Jim Fitzpatrick, friend of the show. I've met Jim a couple different times at cons. I'm going to read this because it just made me feel good. He says, been reading Streets of Avalon this work trip, and it's exceptional in its balance. Traditional setting books are exhausting to me. This is a tool that gives you info to recreate a feel. Thanks, Encoded and Fofford, which is me, for nailing this one. Can't wait to run stuff with it. Which, Jim, that is incredibly high praise. I was talking to Joe Swick about this. Thank you. And I told Joe, I said, somebody's going to hate it. That's fine. Somebody's going to be like, I back this thing. It's not my cup of tea. Somebody will say something horrible.
Sorry, Brett. Sorry.
It's going to happen. I know Sean doesn't like it. That's fine. I knew that going in. Sean gave me a grudging pledge. I knew that. But if anybody were to take it and feel inspired or do anything cool with it or find a nugget in there that they transform into their own game, that's just awesome. That's the cool piece. So anyway, thank you, Jim. He said that on Twitter, and I'm not looking for people to go out and do that, but the fact that that's the most recent one. Somebody else said something too, and I could not find their tweet for the life of me, which I apologize to that person. But it's very nice because oftentimes, let's put me in the Kickstarter aside. There's so many times we'll see creators out there who build something or do something really cool. I love Eloy Lasanta's stuff, right? I'm not a huge Third Eye Games gamer guy, but I like Eloy. I've met him. I've talked to him in person. I've talked to him on this podcast, as you know. He's just a great dude. And when he starts to create something that looks really cool, I'm like, man, I got to pump that. I got to tell somebody this is a cool dude who's doing cool shit. And that's important. And I think even if you're like, look, I can't back David Beatty's Dark Trails, but I know somebody who would like it. And Dave seems like a good guy. I'd like to help him out. Hey, Paige Letman is running something, or she's got a tweet out there you see, or something in social media about an event or something that's going on, even if you're not going to be there, but you'd like to support it, saying nice things online is huge. It just is. And in the customer service world, people are more than happy to bitch about shit they hate. And that's so often to tell people about cool stuff. So every time you take the time to say something cool about something you really love, that's just awesome. And I think we should do more of that. So anyway, enough of that.
No, also, it's on drive. It's on drive-through, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's live for purchase yet because we want to make sure the Kickstarter backers got their stuff first. We like to make sure we do that. We, being Encoded, and I said, oh yeah, we got to make sure that all the Kickstarters have their crack at it before we start opening up to the masses, because that would just not be fair.
Gotcha.
But it will be on drive-through.
Right.
So, awesomedice.com. We're still doing that for a little bit here. So if you use Gaming BS at checkout of an order of $10 or more, you can get 15% off. And who's our winner for May?
Oh, let's see. Xavier G.
Nice.
So Xavier G, you'll have to let me know it's okay to pass along your email to awesomedice.com, where you will get a free set of dice. I think you may be in a country that they can ship to. There is some limitations, but nonetheless, if we can get them to you, we will certainly have Brandon send you a set. Thank you for everybody that has signed up to our email list and had a random drawing. If you are, I think that's it. I don't know. I'm waiting on Brandon to double check and see if May was the last month.
Or if we're going to do June.
Or if we're going to be June and then give in the first day or week of July. So we're going to hold off on promoting that further, because we don't want anybody to, hey, I got this thing and I didn't get my discount code or anything.
Exactly. Yep.
So we thank Brandon at awesomedice.com. Regardless, go over there, order some dice. If you want to try Gaming BS promo code and you've made an order of $10 or more and see if it works, you could try that. But if it doesn't work, it's because the promotion is over.
Yes.
Okay.
The danger of podcasts it tends to be, forever.
Right.
and promotions do end, people. So just be aware.
Yeah. So what do they say? For a limited time.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So I think I'm going to run at Gamehole Con. Speaking of which, I know we're tracking all over the place, but I'm going to run either Tales from the Loop or Kids on Bikes for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. You got to get that out there.
Yeah, I do. I just have to think of what I want the premise to be.
Oh, I got to get hold of Jason, too, because I want to do a trail thing. I've got 3 Avalon games I need to run a trail game, too, so I got to get that done.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Oh, yeah. Okay. I think that's it.
All right.
That's all I have. All right.
What else we got? Oh, random encounter. Let's move on. Pretend we have a show. Let's go.
All right. Random encounter. If you're new to the show, it's where we field emails, voicemail, comments, things from social media. And so this is the listener feedback section.
I can start this one.
All right, man.
All right. Laramie of House Wall on inclusiveness. Hey, guys. In the recent inclusiveness episode, thank you. Lots of good things to digest, think about, and remember. Be it at my own table or the 60-ish person minicom we run, there's a lot to consider. While there are many times Mrs. Letman's anecdotes seemed just that, isolated incidents that were funny to recall, I fully believe her statement of their frequency, which shifts them from being an amusing tale to a common irritant. I like her answer of dude, not cool, as that's probably better than my stop, this isn't a discussion, don't do that, end of story. Anyway, we all know that generally important discussions aren't necessarily comfortable, and I think this episode was of extreme importance. While not fun, I feel it will help many to share the good times in the future. Thanks again, Laramie. Thanks, Laramie. That's cool, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Laramie, thank you so much.
Paige was cool. She was fun to talk to.
Yeah, she's pretty easygoing. She's put up with a lot of shit over the years.
Totally. I knew it was going to be fun to talk to her because we get on the mics like about 10 minutes beforehand. We're like, okay, this is what we want to do. You've done this before, blah, blah, blah. It's like an hour or 45 minutes before the show. We're like, we should just stop talking and save this for the show. She's just so much fun to talk to. Anyway, keep going. I'll let you do the next one. Moving on.
Ty of Housemonger, how should I address you? Hi, guys. As I look over my large collections of RPGs, it is brought a thought to the forefront. As the leader of the game, what do you like to be called? Game Master or DM? GM or DM? Obviously, Game Master or Dungeon Master. Or one of 1,000 names that other games like to name that title. As for me, I always think of myself as the game master, no matter what game system I play. Part of me wonders why they just don't stick to that title through all game systems. But each their own, I guess. And I see the argument for being called DM for those game systems that only do fantasy. But I like to hear your thoughts on the argument GM or DM. Ty.
Huh.
So here's the deal. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Dungeon Master is proprietary.
Well, it's trademarked, yeah.
It's for D&D.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, now.
Well, that doesn't mean people don't call it that. Right? So there's the difference between, Game Master is a ubiquitous, nobody owns that phrase.
Right.
Or those two words. So any game system can use it, whereas White Wolf had Storyteller.
Right.
And Call of Cthulhu is Keeper.
Right.
Those are terms specific for that game.
Yes.
However, outside of that, we usually, in my group, because we've tried lots of different games over the years, Game Master or GM seems the most kind of catch-all.
Right.
Of everything. Hey, who's running? That's the other one. It's just, wait, are you running? Cool.
Are you going to run?
Or Brett's running. Sean's running. Paige is running.
So when you talk about, I think you're right, Brett, when it's in those circles, it's who's running. Are you going to run? Do you want to run? Or when you talk about, hey, I'm going to run a game, or you're going to go, hey, we're going to play this one game, then it's like, who's GMing or who's running, right? It's kind of like the context thing may change here and there.
Do you have a preference, Sean? Do you care?
I mean, me personally?
Yeah, you personally.
I think it's, I don't give a shit.
No.
I mean, I like to be called Grand Poobah, but
yes, I prefer his holiness, but I don't always get that often.
Grand Poobah,
Grand Poobah is pretty handy.
That is. Does anybody know what that reference is from?
I can't remember, but I should. Oh, crap!
I'm gonna leave it. I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah, leave it there. I'll have to
Everybody's got a comment. Throw it in. What was
Flintstones? Is it the Flintstones?
Brett, you ruined it for everybody.
It's the Flintstones. There we go.
It is the Flintstones.
That's the water buffalo thing.
It is the water buffalo
lodge that he belongs to. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, I know some games do try, like Storyteller and Keeper, they try to pick a term or a phrase that helps to encapsulate what the role is and how it fits that game or the genre the thing is trying to do. White Wolf.
What was it for Top Secret, Brett?
Oh shit! That was the. It's not the administrator.
It was the administrator.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I think in certain games like White Wolf, whether they succeed at this or not, perhaps is up to debate. Some people would argue one way versus the other. When they had Storyteller, their idea was to help drive the story. It's supposed to be very story based, which when you actually look at the mechanics from back in the old days, like, really? That's story based? Anyway, in Game Master, sometimes in master terms or leader or he or she, the being that knows all, isn't always the most fun for certain groups, and it has a feeling like, oh, I have to master this game in order to run it, which is where you get guys, like Matt Colville and us and many, many, many other men and women out there like, no, you don't need to know everything. Go on Twitter and find the number of women and men who have said, you do not need to master this game to run it. It's okay. But when the term master or owner, leader, something like that is in front of the title, sometimes it connotates. Connotatively
has a connotation.
Thank you. That you need to know a fuck ton of stuff in order to do this job. Right, like a job description. Oh, wow, PhD required, 16 years in country, must speak 4 languages. I'm out. That type of thing. I'm less pretentious than that in that space. I'm like, Game Master's fine because it just fits everything. And from running a con and going to cons, GM is just an easy, all-encompassing term that fits.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But good. Good question. What do you like to be called?
What's
throw it out there right in. If you could have your own title as a runner of RPGs, what would you like it to be?
Interesting.
I'm sure we're going to get some really cool ones.
We might get some horrible ones.
That's okay. There's not a wrong answer.
There might be. We'll find out.
We'll see.
Anyway, up next, we have Stefan of House Dragonspawn. Hello, my sexy BSers. Stefan of House Dragonspawn here. I've listened to your episode with Lady Page. I think this was a needed and very relevant topic. This being the golden age of our hobby, more and more people are discovering the fun to be had. It's not just white straight men now, but men of color, women, people of the LGBT plus community, and many religions. Excuse me. Changes are coming. They need to happen correctly. I'm a gay man and have luck of being a middle-aged white man too, so I am an invisible minority. Bisexuality doesn't have to come up. I've been lucky that I've never been the target of any hate or discrimination, yet I'm sure that some incidents may have happened and we need to be more sensitive and accepting in order to keep our hobby growing. There's so many games and settings available now, and more come out every month. Our hobby doesn't need to be so insular. We already have a minority as far as hobbies and activities go. Why discriminate and turn people away?
We're already a minority.
We are already a minority. Excuse me. I love it when I hear Brett talk about his kids and how they want to learn to game and game master their own games, which I found awesome. Thank you for talking about this, Stefan.
Hey. Well, so Stefan's in Canada.
Yeah.
But it's Gay Pride Month.
That's right, it is.
As we record this. So, hey.
When I first met...
all you fabulous gays out there.
Have an awesome Pride Month, man.
Happy Pride Month.
Enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah. I'm going to go get a boa just...
When I first met... I met Stefan once in person. It was at Origins.
Yeah.
And Origins was happening during the Pride Week event. And I remember sitting outside with Stefan. Neither he nor I don't think he knew, but we sat outside and went, oh my God, this is happening. This is it was like wild and insane. And the passion, I think I've talked about this before, the fun that whole crowd was having. I looked at Stefan and I go, wow, that's pretty cool, huh? And he said, Brett, these are two of my favorite things all combined. He said, there's this wonderful parade outside of people just being who they are and gaming. And I'm like, yeah, that's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah.
That was great. I do remember walking down the street. I can't remember who I was with. I was going to meet Phil. The gentleman with the JJ was with us. I'm walking, and a group of folks came by on the parade, and I said, I cannot remember what they were wearing. I think there was a lot of leather involved. And I looked and I said, my God, that has to be hot. Or no, I said, I can't believe they're not super hot wearing all that. Two people turned around and looked at me, and they realized right away that I'm like, this is legit. I'm like, it is like 98 fucking degrees and hot, and we're all sweating. And the gentleman in front of me goes, oh, honey, they're hot all the time.
Hot all the time.
And I said, you got me. And we all just laughed. clink glasses. It just moved on. Oh, God, that was so much fun. That whole crowd was a blast. Anyway, Stefan, you're wonderful. Thank you so much for paying attention to us, and just for all the support you've shown us over the years too, dude. You're awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Stefan, you sexy beast.
Over to you, Sean.
Jesse of House Sparks writes, hi, Brett and Sean. Woman Gamer here. Writing in about a recent episode of your show in which a guy wrote in and mentioned that people in a game store were gawking at his girlfriend, and you called for people to shout out game stores that are welcoming. So here I am to shout out not one, but 2 game stores that I have felt very comfortable in. I've had good experiences with T&T Hobbies in my hometown of Key Largo, Florida, and Moxie Games in Columbus, Georgia.
Nice.
Hey. The staff at both places are friendly and helpful, and I've never felt unwelcome, condescended to, or gawked at in either place. It sucks that isn't always the case in every game store, but there are gaming spaces out there that are welcoming to women, and I wish everyone luck in finding that space in their region. Keep up the BS, Jesse.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesse. Yeah. That's cool. TNT Hobbies in Key Largo, Florida, and Moxie Games in Columbus, Georgia. If I am in either of those places, Jesse, I'm checking those out because cool places. That's a place you go. You drop some cash because those folks need to be in business. That's just awesome.
Key Largo, cool. Like that's the place I would want to go. Like, right? What is like 2 Wisconsin guys, man? We should be there like every winter. Holy, it's like on the Keys, right?
I've never been. I've never been to Florida. I should probably go at some point.
Yeah, it's part of the Florida Keys, man. They got a game store in Key Largo.
Yeah,
dude, that would be win-win.
If we were still riding bikes, it'd be like a destination, man.
Oh, totally.
So now we're just gonna have to buy a convertible and go.
That's true. Like a convertible Cadillac or some shit.
Yeah, like a great big
ass 1971,
like just
trunk,
huge, like canary yellow, or just a loud ass. Yeah. Oh God, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
God, that'd be fun. Anyway.
All right. Well, enough of that vacation talk, I guess. Thanks, Jesse.
All right, who have we got here? This is Carl of House Davis. I'm excited to go to my first Gamehole Con. After many years of Gen Con, look forward to a local convention that's large but not too large. I'd love to run a couple events under the banner as I've been a fan of the show for quite some time and even use your advice in playtesting these adventures. Oh my, he's got a couple here he's talking about. Zombie Black Friday. This is a Savage Worlds game where you play ordinary shoppers in one of the largest malls in the country, similar to Mall of America, when a zombie outbreak happens. This is my wife's nightmare, dude, just so you know.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah, this is like, Susan watches a lot of zombie stuff. Anyway, this adventure is designed to be lighthearted like Shaun of the Dead. Can the characters escape the mall before being eaten? Do they try and save the toy that they stood in line for hours, too? Oh, that's awesome.
That sounds fantastic.
Next up, he's got the Helix Nebula Situation, another Savage Worlds game where you play robotic support crew on a Generation ship. You're activated after collision with an unknown force to support the crew. Only problem is there isn't a crew waking up and warning messages about hull breaches and life support failures assault your ears. You and the other robots need to discover what happened and save the crew. That's awesome, playing robots. Yeah. He continues, also, I sent some suggestions for online gaming many episodes ago, and they were well received. I appreciate that. I decided to share another idea to a GM's arsenal when gaming online. A fun thing to do is create a landing page that you show before the game starts. On Roll20, you just create a map like normal. I add trophies, pictures, or tokens to represent previous adventures to the page and remind everyone of the previous glory. Sometimes it's an image of their home base, which I then fill with icons representing triumphs. I allow the players to manipulate the map so they can add their own drawings and sayings. Great show as always, Carl Davis. Actually, when I run Streets of Avalon using Roll20, when I run that with Chris, Kevin, Andy, and Tom, I just have images of what's going on. Like I'll have a picture of a lamplighter plus a street scene, plus, just so when you're glancing at it, it is evocative of the setting. And possible use of this outside of this. So I went to the store because my kids were doing a bunch of science projects, as kids are wont to do in grade school and middle school. And they had these wonderful tri-folding science boards where you put up your little things, you pin it to it. I bought one of those and filled it full of evocative images and clues and so forth the first time I ran an Avalon game for my home crew. I put it up behind me. They all went, ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? I said, this is all indicative of the setting and what was there. I did actually pick certain images that knew would actually happen. So I could say, it looks like this. Oh. And then people started to pay attention to the pictures. The images, like any good art in RPGs, helps to evoke that wonderful feeling. And having that splashed up behind me or next to me on basically a corkboard was really cool. And that's one of the things in my buddy Alpha's basement. He has a short throw projector that throws onto a whiteboard that sits off to my left. So I will, through my rather my tablet or my iMac, or excuse me, my MacBook Air, I'll put different images and stuff up just to help kind of do the similar type of thing. So Static images can be very evocative and very, very helpful for a game. So that's a damn good idea, Carl. Good stuff. Oh, and be great to see you at the con. Those games sound awesome, dude.
Yeah. Metahouse V comments about the Streets Avalon Kickstarter, Brett.
Uh-oh.
Looks like my other comment disappeared. Weird. He posted something and I disappeared. Way too lazy to rewrite it. So here we go. Just wanted to add thanks for the quick turnaround on Streets Avalon. This is the best turnaround I've seen from a Kickstarter besides the Savage Worlds one. Probably won't ever play it because I really don't run D&D anymore, but I was thinking of maybe running it in Genesis or Savage Worlds instead if it looks good. Thanks for the promptness, though. It was really nice to see and the constant updates was really nice.
Very cool. Matt, I'll tell you, man, I have run it in GURPS. I've run it in World of Darkness. I've used that system. I have used basic role-playing, Osric. There's no reason you couldn't use Genesis or Savage Worlds, anything like that. You could totally do that. And I hope you do. And if you do, man, I would love to hear about it and hear what you did, how you did it, and if it was a lot of fun. Or even if it sucked, you're like, it just didn't quite work like this. And then that would be good to hear too, just so I can figure out how to make it better in the future. So thank you for your support, Matt. That's really awesome of you. All right. What have we got here? Joe of House T comments on Random Encounters episode. To James regarding scaling encounters or two-player play. Can each player just run two characters? I don't have the DM experience to truly talk about actual scaling and such, but as a player, just have more PCs than if the book calls for 4 to 6 players or whatever. There's definitely some downfalls to this, such as how complicated a character can be and having someone remember all that stuff for 2 or more characters. You know, Joe, that was one of the first things that hit me, kind of some old school advice, even back in the day when it was hard to find players, because if there were 5 of us in high school that could all play, 2 people couldn't make it, there were only 3 or only 2 people. Well, what did you do? And a lot of times we ran a couple extra characters. It turned to be one of the easiest ways to go about it. However, there's other pieces and parts that go into it, and that's in the hopper. We might throw that one out coming pretty soon to talk about 2-player play. But good piece, Joe, because I think it's a thing that sometimes we forget. And if you pick the right characters in D&D, like you've got one, you don't want to, Brett's opinion, you wouldn't want to have a cleric, a wizard, a sorcerer, and a warlock. Oh, and another spellcaster, and another one poor gamer trying to run all that, because that might drive you insane. But taking, a tank and a wizard, a cleric and a thief, something along those lines, that could always work out well. One that's quote unquote easier to play simply because it doesn't have the crunchy bits of spellcasting and some of those extra powers that come in there. So just a thought, but we'll dive into it more later. Sean, anything from you before we pass on?
Nope.
Nope. Very cool. Next one's over to you, sir.
Sooner fan writes in about hit points. Brett and Sean, sorry this was so long. Feel free to edit it and shorten it if you want. I am writing in with some thoughts about hit points. Nick of House Hopkins talked about this subject and was sharing his concerns about the narrative during combat and how he was handling it in 5e. None of what I am writing is critical of Nick, just how I look at this subject. This is only the second time I have contacted you. I emailed you for episode 200 to congratulate you guys on that milestone and how I started at episode number 1 and worked my way through them. I also told you how I was going to start running again after a long absence from RPGs. I started with basic D&D around 1989 at the age of 11. Yes, I am old. I am most familiar with first edition AD&D, and that is what I am currently running. I realize that everybody interprets rules in their own way. In first edition, and I'm sure in the previous versions previous to 1E, hit points were never a measure of strictly physical damage. It was meant to represent the physical toll that combat takes on you. If you are a fighter with 36 hit points and the orc deals 4 to 6 points of damage per hit on you, you don't necessarily take 6 to 9 blows to your body or wounds from a weapon. It is an abstract number that takes into account things like getting exhausted from all the feints, blows to the armor, parrying, blocking a weapon with your shield, moving around, etc. Probably none of these things would kill a fighter, just wear him down. Wearing him down could cause him to be slower. not thinking as clearly, and leave him open to that final blow that causes him to drop to negative hit points and on death's door. Yeah, that's a very good point, and I think that's a lot of people need to kind of grasp that.
There is a Tim Kask has I think a curmudgeon in the basement or whatever, but he went through a sword fight, I believe in Game of Thrones or one of those shows similar to that, and kind of dissected it, saying that point where the character dove backwards or flipped over a table, they would have lost hit points for that. That's how they would have seen it. That was the idea. The fight is this drastic, crazy thing. Your loss of hit points is how you're avoiding getting killed.
Yep.
It wasn't strictly that, oh, I have 5 health left, right? It was, and I think that's, it's interesting to try to look at it like that, but I think to do that, it takes focus and dedication to rewire our brains, because we, throughout the hobby the last 40 plus years, it's your life. It's a red marker that goes tick, 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 tick down, right? Yeah. Keep going.
I'm not very familiar with 5th Ed, so this does nothing for how hard it is to kill a PC, but Nick was saying he was having problems with the narrative of combat. Maybe you could get with his group and tell them not every roll that hits them causes a wound that does physical damage. Like I said before, it can cause some exhaustion and clarity of their thoughts and tactics. The final hit to them that drops them to 0 or lower hit points is the one that made a hit to a vital part of the body, and they drop from the wound. Some quick ideas that popped up in my noggin. High Constitution gives bonus HPs. That could represent higher stamina, not the ability to take extra cuts or wounds. That final blow, let's say a dagger to the neck, doesn't care what your Constitution is. The fighter's bonus to con let him fight longer before he opened himself up to the final hit that hit his neck and dropped him. Also, maybe describe a physical hit to the fighter when his opponent rolls an arbitrary number. Let's say a giant causes a wound or broken bone on a natural roll of 17 or 18 to 20, and a kobold only causes a physical wound on a natural 20. This would give the game master a chance to describe the combat instead of just saying, the kobold hit you, take X number of points of damage each time he hits the fighter. With this, you could affect how long a character has to rest before gaining a large percentage of his hit points back. If he has several physical wounds from the opponent rolling high on their attack dice, then make it take longer than just a short rest to regain his hit points. Like Brett's son said, he steps on my head until I am dead? Let me rephrase that. He steps on my head until I'm dead.
Yes.
There you go. Maybe if the fighter drops the kobold to 0 or less hit points, it doesn't follow through with a strike to the head, throat, or a vital organ, for example, the opponent gets to make a death save or 2 with no failures. If they don't, they are dead. If they do, they can stumble up to their feet and either try to leave the fight or get one more attack in. I know movies and TV aren't the best examples, but some of the epic fights last a while and rarely do you see one of the fighters take a ton of major wounds. They might get sliced in the arm or chest, but the final blow is usually opening up their guts, a slashed throat, decapitation, or something along those lines. Also, the fights take more than a few seconds for someone to be defeated unless they are low-level mooks or minions. I know Gary Gygax had commented on this subject before he passed away, probably in Dragon Magazine and or interviews. I've seen a video by Tim Kask on YouTube where he went into great detail on this subject.
Yep, that's the one I was referencing.
Yeah. I hope this has helped or maybe just opened up thought or two on a little different way to narrate combat. I would like to thank you guys and listeners for getting me back into gaming. Keep up the great work, guys. Sooner fan.
Very cool.
Yeah, welcome back to the hobby, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
no, it's really cool.
And he thanked the gamers, too. So some of these, he's thanking some of the people that have written in have probably given him some inspiration, too.
Well, you and I have talked about that for 4 years now.
Yeah.
We've been doing this. If it weren't for the listeners, you men and women out there writing into us and all those cool folks, we see things in there, and like, wow, that was cool. We get just great feedback and ideas, and there's stuff that you folks have thrown out to us, that make their way into my games. So, and shit, we get people like Jesse who tell me about 2 cool games in game stores in Florida and Georgia. I got to go there. So anyway, no, it's really, really cool. Very cool. All right, what's last one here? Pete of House Wyeth comments in Dark Trails episode. No mention of Feral World, a locally southern Wisconsin artisanal RPG. The Feral World RPG lets players take on the role of anthropomorphic animal in an Old West setting with steampunk elements. There are about 30 different mammal species with their own strengths and weaknesses, and skills are chosen a la carte, so you, the player, can design the exact character you would like. In addition, the Ferals, players can choose from an alien people called the Kathiek, which are indigenous to the Feral World. Awesome. Cool. Oh, we got a note as the side here. Bob gave us a good thank you for the episode with Paige Letman as well. So.
Yeah, thanks, Bob, for doing that. He hit us up on Facebook, so thanks, Bob. I just want to acknowledge that. So,
yep. We do try to track as much as we can across Facebook, Twitter, MeWe, and stuff. And so if you have said something to us and we've missed you, we apologize. One definite way, to make sure that you are seen by us is email. I know that's old school, but if you hit us up there, or obviously if you're a patron too, we grab stuff off the Patreon page. But anyway, thank you all very much. Great feedback, folks. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, and we'll have a link to Feral World in Die Roll for those that may be interested in checking it out on lulu.com. All right. Holy cow, man.
Damn.
It did go longer than I expected.
It did go longer. So this might be kind of a short one, so we'll see how we go, shall we?
Yeah.
So Kojo, sorry. Oh, I went too fast. I was so excited. I just jumped the gun.
Brett was very excited.
Premature topic discussion. I'm sorry. Happens to every podcast owner every once in a while.
No, anyway. just you, Brett.
God damn it. No, you should feel like you're a freak, Brett. That's okay.
If you're experiencing pre-topic discussion in your podcast, call a friend.
Call your friend Sean and have him mock you. Thank you. Anyway, so DM Kojo brought up hindrances as a potential min-max tool, right? And Sean and I have talked about this before, and I wanted to come back to it a little bit because I find it very... how do I say this? So one of the things that Kojo was talking about this, we had a bit of a back and forth between us, Kojo, and another listener. I can't remember the listener's name. I'm losing my mind right now. I was going to look this up before the show. Anyway, we went back and forth around, hey, building the character you want or the random die roll, 3d6 down the line is crumb intended, or how you go about building characters. And some people want to build a concept and so forth. Now, depending on the type of game you want to run or play in, hindrances and those types of things, flaws, blah, 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 you have to be careful. And the reason I say that is the potential's out there to have these bad things that are connected to your character. They really aren't all that bad. I've joked in the past, we had a guy in my gaming group for a short period who liked to take hindrances that were essentially addicted to magic item collection, must kill all enemies until dead, collecting, addicted to gold, things like that. They're really not hindrances so much. Always goes for the throat. That's not much of you're an assassin. It's really not a hindrance, dude. Oh yeah, no, it totally would be. So yeah, Carson, thank you, was the other person who went back and forth with around it. And I think the cool part that hindrances have in a game system, Sean, you can correct me. I mean, you game a lot of different systems too. One of the cool things that hindrances can do is they can help you develop a better rounded character. They can give you some of those flaws and those things that can help make the character pretty cool. Well, on the other side, also usually give you some extra character points to build your character with, right? Oh, I really wish I had fly. Flight, I need that power. Oh, if I take stuck in a wheelchair, I'll have enough points for that. Or if I took, blind in one eye, I could do that, and so on. So I get the draw to them, and I also understand though that the potential to min-max is out there, where people tend to pick the flaws or hindrances that really don't seem to impact them a whole hell of a lot, or never quite seem to come up in game. And I think what one of the things that can be interesting is this. It's not just the game master's job to bring that stuff up. I think if you make your characters at the table and everybody is aware of all of these things, it can get ugly, potentially. But you could have your players go, isn't that a hindrance of yours, Brett? You can't do that. Your character has a flaw that he must stab all enemies in the face until dead, or you do whatever. And so I think we can police ourselves. It can get kind of messy depending on the group and how well they get along, but I think that can be done. But it does need to be, you got to pay attention to this stuff, at least in my opinion, when it comes to hindrances, flaws, or anything that you can buy or take on to give you more points to build this character monster. Because some players do build character monsters. They build these min-maxed behemoths that are full of hindrances that really don't quite matter. Sean, have you seen this in the past, or am I talking on my ass as usual?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've been there.
It's
not pretty.
It's not pretty. Have you done it? I've done it.
You have?
Oh yeah.
Shame on you, Brett.
Oh yeah, I did. Shame. I was a younger man. I was foolish. I didn't know what alcohol would do. Yeah, I have in the past.
I haven't done it. I don't play a ton of games with the disadvantages piece and the hindrances. I like them, and I would play them. And it also depends on the game. Well, and I say it depends on the game because there's times when I like to think that if there's a heavy element of role-playing, great. And if that's the game, awesome. Mm-hmm. But if it's like, hey, you're going to take these hindrances and they're not going to come into play necessarily, either because of my choice or the game master's choice, then I don't want to have them just because they're part of the game, but they don't matter.
Yeah, because if you're running a GURPS game or something where it's point buy, you're like, okay, fine. How about, because none of this shit matters, how about I just give you an extra 50 points to build a character with?
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Because if it's really not going to come into play.
Right.
And I think so we all know that canard, right? Oh, Christ, some stupid fucker's going to take a hindrance that really isn't a hindrance, or it's never going to come up. They're going to have an endangered character. The game master will forget, blah, blah, blah. Now, I think a piece you said there is critical. If you're going to have players who like to role play and game masters who like to role play, I think the lost component, not the lost piece, but I've encouraged people, like, do you want to role play that hindrance? Do you want to role play that piece? Because I need you to do that. If you do that, you will get experience points, you know? Or if you do that, this will benefit you in some way, shape, or form. Because the cool thing that a hindrance or a mechanical approach to this is that, excuse me, there's a mechanical approach. Something occurred, and you took a thing, and it gave you a thing back, right? Points to build your character. But I think if that's the only impact it had, that's not good enough. It needs to have impact throughout the game. And if the only way for it to happen is through role-playing, you have to make sure that you've got people who are willing to role-play those types of hindrances and flaws, those bad things, right? Because it's got to be there. If there is a mechanical tie to it, I remember, Sean, in the Star Wars game you ran, you kept track of a number of those things and you used them.
Yeah.
We had that stuff. I can't
obligation.
The obligation, that was part of the game system. There's a mechanic in it. This is your obligation. Right. And you brought that up. You made it a point that our obligations were going to bite us in the ass. And they fucking bite us in the ass over and over again. They all popped up at one point or another. And that made sense because we built the characters. We were told it was going to be there, and you made sure it happened. And we then had to role play and deal with it.
Austin had a few, I think, had him encounter his obligation a few times.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Now, Kojo, you're not here to defend yourself, so I'm going to throw this, and I think you would say this. This is what I'm going to throw out. And a lot of us who like some of the OSR stuff, do I need a mechanic? No, I don't. I could have a character who in the course of play loses his eye. Okay, he's lost his left eye. Or my other character, she had her leg chopped off, or she lost all her hair, or whatever, was disfigured. Or my guy, X, Y, or Z happened, or he developed a phobia, or psychosis, or something. And even if there isn't a mechanic, you should be able to play with it, i.e. role play through it and say, yep, I can't do that. Or, hey, don't forget, Kojo, I lost an eye, last session. So I have disadvantage on my attack roll until you said for the next 3 rounds. Or, hey, if it requires X, Y, or Z, I can't do that because I only have one eye, or I lost a leg, or something along those lines. The beauty of a mechanical component or a connection, though, is that there's a enforcement.
Yeah, there's a rule.
There's a rule that you can latch onto that says X equals this, therefore this is going to happen.
Yeah, you're going to get a penalty.
You're going to get a penalty of some kind.
Yeah.
And I think the key to them is that hindrances or flaws or whatever they are that are chosen, I think the players and the game master should all agree that they fit and are appropriate, right? So if you look at GURPS, to me is a classic example of there's a shit ton of books out there for GURPS over the years. Lots of different flaws, merits, hindrances, quirks, things that are available and so forth. Even Vampire, the old White Wolf book, there are tons of different new options and nuances around those pieces for different vampire clans and so forth. My players would come, can I have this? I would say, no, that one doesn't fit. Oh, crap, I really liked it. Sorry, no. Because it doesn't fit. And I think that's a piece we as game masters and as other players need to say. You look at something like GURPS, I shouldn't say notoriously, at one point they had certain pieces that were cinematic. They were listed as such. Like hard to kill. The old Schwarzenegger, Stallone thing, you just couldn't kill the son of a bitch type of thing. Kept coming back. Shoot him, he wouldn't die type of thing. It says cinematic right on it. And the last time I ran GURPS for group, I said, look, no cinematic this, none of XY, none of Z, none of 1, none of 2, none of 10, whatever. I listed off the shit that wasn't allowed. I'd had some groans like, oh, I really like that. Yeah, but it doesn't fit the world. It doesn't fit. Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens. But you've got to put boundaries around it. If it doesn't fit or isn't going to work, I think not only the game master isn't the only person on that one, but I think the game master should be able to say, hey, Brett wants to take this hindrance. I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence. What do you guys think? Does it fit the setting? And I don't think that's a bad idea to wrangle in some other players to get opinions or perspectives on it. Sean, what do you think about that?
If I were running a game that had an inherent mechanic that allowed you to take hindrances to get more points so that you could use those points to build better things, advantages for your character, say like Savage Worlds or GURPS or something. I would in the game call it out if they're abusing it. Because in my opinion, then they're gaming the system and they're not like, okay, hold on a second. Hold on, time out. Let me get this straight. You've taken X and Y and you've gotten Z, and you're not taking into X and Y into consideration at all. Well, that's a bunch of bunk. Because that is kind of predefined. Like, I think when you go into those situations with that in mind, saying, hey, this is what we're going to be able to do. Yeah, you could take up to 2 hindrances, or you could limit it to 1, whatever it is, and give them those points. Or you simply say, no, you get stuck with the base points and that's it. You don't get a hindrance. Mm-hmm. So you can, or give them the option. Okay, you could take a hindrance and get an extra 20 points or 2 points, or you stay at the base and you don't take a hindrance and you don't get a boon. What's your pleasure?
Yeah. I've actually had players over the years, my buddy JR would take a bunch of flaws and like, I don't need any merits. I don't need any good stuff. I just want the flaws. I think they're cool.
Which is fine.
I'm like, all right. And he role played the shit out of them too, which is always great.
Right. Which is great, right? That is great. But it's those that are like, okay, I'm going to take like you mentioned, Brett, I'm going to take something, but I'm never going to consider it in play, whether it's role playing or an actual penalty. I take blind, but yet you could shoot without any penalty. Like, come on, that's not going to, you're not Daredevil. And if you want to be Daredevil, then you got to play that game.
Yes.
Like, I want to be Daredevil. What game can I play to be Daredevil? All right, let me figure this out.
That's an interesting piece, too. You'll find some people like, I'm going to be Wolverine. Like, it's Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, but I want to be the Wolverine. No, no. The answer is no. Or I want to be a ninja. There are no ninjas in this game. Oh, but no. You can't be Harry Dresden. No, I'm sorry. And it is interesting to watch some people try to build a character that doesn't fit because they have a notion of what they want to have. But that perhaps a different topic type of thing. But I think you're right. Do you need a mechanic to do this? Obviously, no. I don't think it's a crutch. I don't think it's training wheels. I don't think it's bad if some people enjoy having mechanics to help steer and guide the hindrances and so forth. I think the main piece of it, though, and we've said this before, and I just want to underscore it, is you've got to have it actually impact play the way it says.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then just fuck it and give the character the extra build points that they need because you're not going to do it anyway. You're simply frittering away time by making them pick stuff that has no meaning.
Yeah, and I think part of this goes to like players feeling as well as though they have to have the upper hand. And because of that, there is this weird dynamic between the game master and the player, I find, where the deck may be stacked against the players so much so that they feel compelled that they have to get these advantages. They have to be heroes. They have to not have any flaws. Because if they have a flaw, well, the game master's they're gonna put the screws to that. Right? They're gonna expose it.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, Brett will expose it. But at the same time,
that's part of the fun.
Well, that's true.
John McClane had a wife. When they found out, guess what they did? They held a gun to her head. You know
what? And spoilers.
But you got to figure that stuff out.
Well, while I agree with that, I also think that game masters can be overzealous in their pursuit of exposing everything.
Oh yes, there is abuse on the other side. The abuse on the other side.
Everybody, you're blind. You don't have, this, and that. Okay, so now I'm going to just every encounter I run is going to be like, oh, well, you can't see, or you have a limitation, so I'm just going to expose it every single encounter, which I think is bullshit.
Yeah, there's
trade-off, I think.
There's a trade-off. There is thematically and story arcy and all the other cool. Yeah, it's really, that challenge really would have been a lot easier if I didn't have that hindrance. But damn it, Sean, he got me good there. Okay, the dice kind of fell where they may, whatever. Versus, wow, there's a random chart and it says, who am I going to fuck on the other side of the screen? Whose character am I going to put in this vice grip and squeeze until they pop? That's not appropriate either. So hindrances are not the game master's, free reign to just destroy characters and players. But they're a tool, and like any tool, if you overuse it, it's not good. Not so good.
Yeah, it'd be like Die Hard and what you were saying with John McClane and all the glass getting shot, right? And then the whole floor is covered with glass, and he has no shoes on, and he has to walk across that. And then you go, he gets through that, and then you go, okay, well, I'm going to see if I can get one of the bad guys, and I'm going to get their shoes so I can put it on my feet and walk, I can walk better now. Well, there isn't anybody there. Like, they're gone. Like, you shot them and they fell out a window. Or they're not wearing shoes either.
Or you get them and the shoes are too small, which is what happens.
Which does happen, yes.
But now take that movie now. So, okay, somebody's going to say, I haven't seen the movie. Anyway, he's shot. Or the glass gets shot. He's got glass in his feet. He's got bloody feet. It hurts. It doesn't really stop him. What it does, it provides tracks and information so the bad guys know where he is. He's still a badass motherfucker, and that's fine. But it doesn't completely stop him. It slows him down and provides evidence to the bad guys as where he's been because he's bleeding through his feet. But it doesn't stop him from being able to defeat the bad guys.
Well, that's fair.
It makes it dramatic. It makes it, you have a limitation that you need to work around. You have a thing. Peter Parker has to occasionally deal with the fact that his Aunt May could get threatened by the Green Goblin, right? These are things you need to work around. If you beat the hell out of, if you play that same note over and over and over and over again, everybody gets fucking bored.
Yeah.
So that's the bad thing the game master, in addition to forgetting it, ignoring it, or not making it count in any way is overcompensating and just wailing on that single note because it's flat and dull.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're plenty long as it is, man. I think we should go.
All right.
Shall we? So if you guys, you folks out there are gamers, you read through, you listen to this. Good God, I'm tired. Hindrances, the min-max potential and so forth. How have your experiences been with them? Did you like them? Did you have a good time with them? Did you have a game master who used them in a creative way? Have you used them creatively, so you don't make it a one-note type of event, or were they always forgotten? What tools are you using to help keep that stuff in the forefront? And I think those types of things would be very helpful to bring up. And if we get a good collection of those, we'll read the listener feedback and hopefully get those ideas out. So off we go.
Yeah. Die roll. 2 to 4 miscellaneous points of gaming and geekery we want to share with you. I've rounded up a few this week. How did D&D become a cartoon? I thought it was a good article.
Does it have to do with Hollywood and a lot of cocaine?
No, not at all. But it was more of like, the Satanic Panic. How did they still get a cartoon on the air? What were all the other cartoons going on at the same time? What was unique about the D&D cartoon? And it was a good article. It's on CBR.com.
Did you see the car commercial?
I did see the car commercial. So we should probably put that in the show notes, Brett. You should.
I'll go find it.
Yeah. So as Brett does that, the next one, Broken Ruler Games, a.k.a. Todd Crapper, has a LARP of blackmail, confrontation, and poker being kickstarted called The Deal. That ends June 18th, 2019. I don't know if it's funded yet. I went in on that. I like Todd's stuff, and I don't LARP, but I think I would run that as a LARP. A poker table where it's like,
it could be fun.
Yeah, I think that would be quite fun, actually. And then the next one, Incarnate. It's a cartography creation website. So you can get a free plan, there's a paid plan, and a premium plan. I did on Twitter ask if anybody had used it. I only got really one response. They weren't a big fan of it. But I'd be interested if anybody else used it. Or if you haven't, check that out. You can get on there and create your own type of region, or you can even do a city. It's got, different icons and things of that nature that you can use for mountains and streets and towns and buildings and stuff like that. Some of them actually look very SimCity-like, but if they were for fantasy, which I think is kind of cool. Next one, Feral World Light, which is what Pete mentioned earlier. We'll have a link to that on Lulu. And then the last one, which just came to my mind as we were kind of going through the show, is Stephen Colbert plays D&D with Matt Mercer as the game master or dungeon master. It was for a Red Nose charity. So I think what they did was they put it up online and said, hey, Mercer's going to run a game for Stephen, and everybody can like vote on things, and then it costs money to vote. And then that dictated like what character he got, and what class. So if you haven't watched it, it's on YouTube. Have you watched it yet, Brett?
No, I've not.
So I would recommend, whether you like Stephen Colbert or not, to watch it. And the biggest thing I got out of it was, so it's literally a one-on-one D&D thing, and it's obviously for charity. But if you watch Stephen Colbert's face as he plays,
some of the stills I've seen, the dude just lights up. He's having so much fun.
It is exactly that. It's like you'd think this guy you'd think this guy was like 8 years old and went to Disney World. Like,
I'm playing D&D
and his face is just like, yeah. And he goes back and he talks about like some of the things that he did while he was playing and kind of gets off sidetracked, but it is hilarious. I mean, I told a guy that I worked with professionally and placed. I'm like, hey man, you should just check this out because his facial expressions are just priceless. So I think he's hooked. I think Colbert's gonna be playing D&D.
Well, he's played before forever.
Well,
ago.
I think
for a
he's had
long time ago.
Yeah, I think it's been a gap though.
Oh yeah, a lot of us. So you talked about that. I mean, it takes. I shouldn't say a lot of us. A lot of people like you. I'm very fortunate that I have not had the gap.
Yeah,
a lot of people have.
Yeah. So there's some links for you to check out. That's it. So what are we talking about next week, Brett?
We're going to talk about gaming with small groups.
Ooh.
And we want to pimp something that we got coming up. So one of the ideas that someone had given to us was Sean and Brett should each run an encounter. The same encounter. We should run it just to see how we do it differently. Right. So we're sorting out how we want to get a one-page encounter that we could do some rules around it, like, hey, it's going to be used with this system, blah, 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 blah. And pre-gen PC or something, and just run that encounter. I think we'll probably have Sean go first, then me. Well, then we'll record it and put it out to see how it goes.
So things that are coming into our brain is we would maybe crowdsource the encounter with some criteria.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'd probably make it 5e just for general purpose. And then we would look to have one player as the subject of our game mastering. And then how do we pick that player to do that? So Brett would have a
one player each, the same player each time?
No.
One player for you, one player for me?
Yeah. Which would probably kind of skew things a little bit. But I also don't think the single player playing both in the same encounter would make any sense.
No, fair enough. Yeah,
right. But, it is another variable thrown in.
I'd love to be able to do it where we could say, hey, I'll run it for a group of 3 people. You're not, but anytime you get larger than X number of, like, 1,
right?
It's hard. Schedules suck, and it's hard to make happen. So,
yeah. So we may do that, and we'll do it, and we'll record it. And if depending on how long it takes, we'll either put it in the same episode or we'll do one episode where Brett runs it. And it's literally just going to be, all right, episode X, Brett runs this person through, name the encounter name. And then the next episode would be Sean.
And maybe we throw that over to bonus BS too. I don't know. We'll have to figure out where we put it.
Yeah.
We'll get it out there.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're thinking of.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it.
All right, we're good.
All right. So, yeah, as you may know from the beginning of the show, I'm still Sean.
And I'm still Brett. Good night and good game and all.
This episode of Gaming in BS brought to you with the help from the following BSers. Graham Meinert, Corey Wynn, Andy Hall, Hawk Sparrow, Larry Hout, Mark Tasaka, Pure Mongrel, Chris Steele, Ron Bishop, Thomas Hook, Wayne Humphrey, Craig, Brandon Barnes, Laramie Wall, Dan LaValle, Jason Hobbs, Sky, Roger Braslett, John Hammersley, Old School DM, Perry Besor, Michael Dinos, Jim Fitzpatrick, Christopher Gray, Bruce Cunnington, John Kayward, Corey Gonzalez, Eileen Barnes, Robert Nemeth, Niall Diamond, Angus, Howard Bishop, Stephen Dragonspawn, Mark Anthony Benedetti, Eric Salzwedel, Trevor Davis, Closet Gamer, Jeff Goad, Aaron Coleman, Ray Otis, C.W. Mellencamp, Craig Huber, Rich Wishan, Chad Glayman, Finolf, Mirko Freilich, Lord Tentacle, Joe Swick, Curtis Takahashi, Josh Wallace, Kevin Lovecraft, Andy Olson, and Tony Sugarloaf Baker, and Jeff Seifert. For ways to support the show, head over to gamingnbs.com/support-us. Thanks, BSers. This has been a Litterbox Studio production.